Welcome. My name is Chris Millo. I'm the Director of Athletics, and I will be your MC tonight. And I'm sure there's people with a lot wiser and better things to say. And so welcome up to the first one, Alumni Council President Rob Zimmerman.
Thank you, Chris, and thanks and welcome everybody. Thanks for being here. I'm Rob Zimmerman, Class of '98 Alumni Council President, and this is always a special night, so it's great to see a great turnout. This is a special night for our honorees, but it's also a special night for our school because I know from my experience that athletics is an important part of the country and experience, and so I think it's important that we celebrate that today. It's a fun night for me because I know two of the honorees. Hans Schroeder was in my brother's class, and I watched him when I was a little kid with my brothers as friends and teammates and tried to learn from their experience. Not always very well, Hans. My lack of success is not a reflection on you. And then I got to try to put it into action with Jeff Ball, who was in my class a few years later. And I know Jeff and I got a lot out of our athletics together, although his was, again, far more successful than mine. But I think that the way that athletics completes the country day experience is something that we need to really remember and celebrate today. And I would be remiss if I didn't tell one brief war story about Jeff that I think exemplifies the centrality of athletics to the experience of so many people with country day and students. Imagine back to 1996, a snowy night in January, JV basketball, an unremarkable team. By definition, it would have to be if Jeff and I were starting for it. Against our arch rival Summit, on the road, down by a lot at the half, maybe 17, maybe 25, I don't know. Another 10 years, the deficit will probably be 40, but we were down big. And we marched into the locker room, and we were downcast, and our fiery head coach, the late Todd Montgomery, we were sure he was going to just light us up. And sure enough, he marched in with a snarl, and he said, "Boys, no team in this league wants us down 25. And with the benefit of hindsight, that is a manifestly absurd thing to say. Any team in the league would have been delighted to have us down 25, and indeed I'm sure Summit was more than happy. But at the time, we reacted like we had just heard the St. Christmas Day speech before the Battle of Agincourt, and we charged out of the locker room, came back and won the game, and never looked back. And it was such a formative experience that Jeff and I know a lot of the other folks on that team, even though it was a totally meaningless season, we still talk about it to this day. And I think that's, that moment taught me and Jeff and the rest of us more about resilience and self-belief and leadership than maybe any other moment I had in high school, on or off the court. So I think that's the power of athletics. And as we celebrate our honorees tonight, let's celebrate not just their accomplishments on the court or on the field, but also the way that athletics has shaped all of them to be the leaders they are today. So without further ado, Chris, let's get it going.
Thank you, Rob. I would now like to invite up our first presenter from the class of 1995, Casey Gilmore.
Good evening. My father, Coach Park Gilmore, is being inducted tonight. Middle school football, basketball, and baseball coach. Coach Gilmore began his Country Day career in 1988 following a long hiatus from his teaching and coaching career that began at Montgomery Bell Academy in Nashville after serving in the Marine Corps. During his 26-year tenure here, he coached, as I said before, 7th and 8th grade sports, football, basketball, and baseball, while also teaching U.S. history and English. Greg Ross has informed me that Coach Gilmore is the first middle school coach to be honored with this Hall of Fame induction, which is a really neat thing. Many of my father's former players are on that wall right now, and one, Jeff Ball, is being inducted tonight, and I know it's an honor for my dad to be here with them and with you. Specific records for middle school are typically recorded for posterity, but Coach Gilmore certainly had an impressive body of work. He fielded many excellent teams with outstanding records, and several MVC titles as well over the years. One historic football season in 1995, Dad had an undefeated team whose defense gave up 0 points to the opposition, something unheard of at any level. While records such as these are certainly impressive, the most important statistic to Coach Gilmore was not related to points, wins, or losses. There was a deeper purpose to his coaching philosophy that involved preparing his young men for the years beyond middle school and the inherent challenges that they would face during the journey into young adulthood. Coach Gilmore cultivated in his players a better understanding of the game, solid athletic fundamentals, a stronger work ethic, and a greater sense of self-confidence. He was demanding but patient and was able to get more out of his young athletes than they often thought they had to give. Coach Gilmore believed in practicing until he got things right, and to stress the concept of winning and losing as a unit with maturity, honor, and sportsmanship. My father's highest reward was watching his former players grow from these life lessons and their improved athletic abilities in order to succeed in high school and beyond. I know Coach Dunn appreciated the level of preparation his freshman football and baseball players arrived with each year, and it was equally rewarding for my father to see his players thrive at the next level and build upon the foundation he helped create. As we are all aware, middle school can be a very challenging and often delicate time for our students, and it's a whirlwind of both physical and emotional change. Coach Gilmore was sensitive to this fact, and it was his ability to connect with his kids, nurture their development, and encourage their continued growth that made him such a fixture of the CCD community. This persistent guidance both on and off the field was perhaps the most important and enduring contribution that Coach Gilmore made to this school and to his young student athletes. Truly, I think it's the biggest reason he's being honored here today, because he took a vested interest in the success of his players both on and off the field, inside and outside of the classroom. Coach Gilmore possessed an uncanny ability to identify struggling middle schoolers and turn them into more confident and able individuals by the time they reached high school. Students and athletes alike would frequently seek out his advice on a variety of subjects, or simply to talk about things that bothered him. In fact, it's Coach Gilmore's paternal willingness to spend this extra time with his students and athletes that created such a loyal following throughout the years. Last week, former head of middle school, Dick Schwab, sent my wife a very nice message in order to share his congratulations and memories of Coach Gilmore's career. Quote, "There was never a more dedicated coach than Park Gilmore, never a coach more deserving of this award. There was an unprecedented stream of high schoolers and alumni, all former players, who visited Park's middle school classroom, a true sign of a great coach. I had two heads of school tell me that they had never seen anything like that." Jerry Strauss also kindly added to the sentiments and said that dedicated and enthusiastic, Park represents the reason why CCD was and is such a terrific place to send our children. Beloved by his students, his singular reason for coaching was the lessons it provided equally to students and teachers alike. It is a perfect example of a passion for his life's work. It is this legacy that remains Coach Gilmore's most meaningful and lasting contribution to his students and to this fine institution, and why he's remembered so fondly by so many and with such profound gratitude. This is his greatest statistic. Thank you all for honoring him. Without further ado, Coach Park Gilmore.
That's a tough act to follow. Part of our success in athletics led to success in the classroom. Some of you here who were students of mine realized when you were younger that if you could give me 100% on the football field, or on the basketball floor, or on the baseball diamond, then you sure as heck could give me 100% with your studies. And that's the way it worked out. And lots of you who are here today, well, if you stop and think about it, you know that's true. You wouldn't dare not give me 100% in the classroom. I can't thank everybody properly. it's unbelievable how many people are here. Nobody with Rotten Tomatoes either. At least I don't think. So, not being a speech maker, I am not going to make a speech, but to say thank you to everybody who's here. Thank you especially to Coach Dunn, who was my initial encouragement in making the middle school football team a meaningful experience. And I'm so happy to see so many of you, and I wish I could spend a little more time, but I can't. I have to go to my granddaughter's 11th birthday. So, thanks for coming. Thanks for being here. Tim, thank you for your encouragement and help with my way through, especially the football season and also baseball. And you look around, you'll see why this is such a wonderful school, such a great place for you, for the children, and for those of you who were students here. I know you'll agree, there's no place like this. Thank you.
Hey, Park, before you leave, I just wanted to say, we were talking to the faculty room today, and the way you made our job so much easier for those 26 years, all of us upper school coaches. The kids loved the games that you coached. They came up with good fundamentals, but more than that, they knew what it was to be on a team. It's something we didn't have to worry about. It's a cliche, there'll be a lot of cliches today's night, but you created a band of brothers, and we all appreciate what you did for all those years. Thanks a lot.
I would now like to welcome up our next presenter, Betsy Buck.
I'm going to start out by introducing myself. I'm Brad Buck, and I invited my mom to be a presenter today. I said she'd be handing over an award to me. I didn't mention the part about there being a speech. So I just want to give her a little, cut her a little break with that introduction. And here's my mom.
Yes, I am not prepared, but I loved all of the sports and being able to watch my son and others participate in them. I was especially encouraged when I'm not sure if it was 7th and 8th grade, but 7th grade, I believe, that everyone had to be on a team, is my memory, and I thought that was wonderful, because there were enough people to go around and be on different teams, and we got the experience that they would never have in a bigger school. And so I was very grateful for that, and just the size of the school and the camaraderie. It was a wonderful experience, and there was nothing more fun for me than to go and watch the meets and the races and the such. And I've had 4 boys, and they each had different kinds of athletics they took part in, but I appreciate Brad being in many sports, and thank him for a good time of apparent participation.
Thanks, Mom, and I'm very sorry to do that to you. Next time we'll ask more questions to Paula before I say yes to something. I'll just be very brief. I just want to say thank you to Country Day for this nice honor. Appreciate being recognized. I think Country Day gave me a lot of foundations in terms of feeling confident in myself, taking risks, trying new things. And one of my greatest memories from high school athletics was being challenged by my coaches to kind of give it my all. And I remember I was a mile runner in track. And I remember one time in track, I think it was junior year, the coach I think it was Coach Brownstein, encouraged me just to go out and keep up with, there's a guy from St. Bernard that can never beat. And he said, don't worry about beating him, just go out and try to keep pace with him. I remember going out for that meet, and my goal was just to stay on his heels, and I did. And just that challenge to give it your all, to go for it, I think was an important lesson I learned from my time here at Country Day Athletics. I had great teammates. One of them here is Jody Brandt on the cross country team, always very supportive, same with wrestling and track. So I'm very grateful for this opportunity, for this honor. I'd really like to thank my mom. The reason I asked her to present today, or to be the presenter, not to present, was she was always there. She always came to the track meets, the wrestling meets, the cross country meets, and just having that constant presence, that constant encouragement meant a lot to me, both then and now. So I'm grateful for the love and support that my mom and my family, my friends have all provided. So thank you very much.
We will now welcome up our next presenter, head coach Tim Dunn.
Congratulations to all the Hall of Fame, and not only Brad, I'm sure Coach Brownstein said that, but having watched you compete, I'm sure you didn't need much encouragement to be gritty in your performances. One thing I do remember about you. Jeff, can't say enough congratulations. It's wonderful having coached you and also coached with you. Hans Schroeder, class of 1992, a talented and versatile athlete throughout his high school career, possessed not only the size, speed, and skill needed to excel in numerous sports, but was a confident leader with the poise and savvy required to be a key player in any sport. Hans' strong work ethic coupled with a healthy sense of humor helped him lead his teammates through even the most demanding practices and the toughest games. Hans was a standout football and basketball player and helped out in a number of spring sports. Hans' sister Lee is also a Hall of Famer, making them the first sibling pair to be named to the Hall of Fame. DNA does matter. Thank you, Tad. Upper school coaches watched Hans during his middle school sports years and couldn't wait for him to enter the upper school. As an 8th grader, he even practiced with the varsity basketball team. So, of course, over the summer, he moved to Dallas. Thankfully, he returned to Cincinnati halfway through the football season his sophomore year. During the spring of the sophomore year, because of a broken wrist, he was a late-season pinch runner for the state Final Four baseball team. He ran middle distance for the track team as a junior and was the backup runner for a state championship mile relay team, as well as competing throughout the season in many of the meets. During the winter on the court for Coach Brownstein, he started as a sophomore and led the city in assists his junior year on a team that won the district and lost in the regional semifinals to the eventual state champion. But it was on the football field where Hans made his greatest impact. During his junior year, he was the first-team All-League and All-City. His senior year, Hans was first-team All-City, first-team All-District, second-team All-State on a Final Four football team, compiling 1,700 receiving yards over 2 seasons on a run-oriented team, while also playing in the secondary. Hans tore his ACL during the last regular season game his senior year and missed our first playoff game. With the doctor's permission, Hans was able to play the last 2 playoff games with a torn ACL and a brace. Surgery could wait. I don't think that would happen now. Although hobbled, his reputation forced teams to double cover him and led to another playoff victory and a Final Four appearance. Given the expression, playing hurt, a whole new meaning, Hans, like a Timex watch, took a licking and kept on ticking. Of the 41 players on that team, he might not have been the best, but he was certainly the toughest. Unfortunately, post-surgery, Hans had to miss the basketball season his senior year. Even without him, it was the best basketball team in school history, losing a very close state semifinal game. Most observers, this one included, think that with Hans, that group would have easily won the state championship. It's easy to stick out on a 4-6 team or a 6-14 team, but Hans played on some of the best teams in school history. He played with 9 other CCD Hall of Famers throughout his athletic career, yet still stood way above the crowd. Hans went on to play football at Princeton University, 2 years as a wideout and 2 as a safety. He has worked for the National Football League for the last 16 years and is currently the Chief Operating Officer for Media Strategy and Development, where he splits time between New York and Los Angeles. He lives in Rye, New York with his wife, Samita. With great pleasure, we welcome Hans Schroeder to the Country Day Athletic Hall of Fame.
Thank you all, and thank you, Coach Dunn. It's great to be back here tonight, and congratulations to all the other inductees. Coach Gilmore, if you're still here, Brad, I've known for a long time, in my sister's class, Jeff, who I've known and then heard about for a long time, and Sydney, who sadly can't be here tonight. As you heard, I grew up in a family with 2 older Country Day alums, so I really developed a love for Country Day, and even well before I attended. I love coming to the field or the old gym with that strange floor on Friday nights to watch, many of the Country Day games, especially those really as I started to really develop a deep love of sports that coincided with the class of '87 that my sister was in. That was a really special class. I think they started as freshmen with an 0-10 football team, and their senior year they went 10-0. So to me, they really established that winning culture that I think continues at Country Day to this day. You hear the names and you see them on the board: Rodney Vincent, Larry Pitts, Cass Hopkins, Tom Taylor, Chris Mitchell, as well as my sister, which I hear a lot about. They all were incredibly inspiring. And seeing that special atmosphere and seeing the Blue Crew and sort of how they treated the atmosphere in athletics really made me want to be part of it. And I was lucky enough to become part of that tradition, and it's left me with a lot of great memories, which I really do cherish to this day. It also gave me the opportunity, as Coach Dunn mentioned, to continue my academic and athletic experience in Princeton, which is a place I equally loved, and would continue really to put me on a path that I still don't know and couldn't imagine back then that I'd be here today. The honor obviously could not be possible without the support of a lot of people, starting with Paula, Christine, Coach Ross. Thank you for this process and this event tonight. Working in a business that has a lot of events and a big one next week, there is a lot that happens that people never take time to thank you for, so I deeply appreciate that. Thank you to the committee for giving me this honor and putting together such a great night, especially Will Kreidler, who's been both a friend and a big brother to me, so thank you, Will. I also want to thank my teammates. As Coach Dunn mentioned, I was predominantly involved in team sports. And so when you play on any team sport, your individual success really is a reflection of the good teammates that you have. And I was fortunate to have a great set of teammates that were even better friends. And so we shared adventures both on and off the field, that many of which I remember fondly, some of which are a little bit more of a cringe. But those guys were really deeply special to me, and while we don't see them as much as I'd like to today, they will and always be dear friends, and lucky enough to have a few of them here tonight: James Zimmerman, and classically a few that are traditionally late, John Hudson and Chris Bortz. I'm not sure where they're here, but if you know them, they're usually a little bit behind the clock. So thank you also just quickly to the coaches and Coach Dunn, Coach Brownstein, Coach Clark, who's sadly not here, Coach Wright, who I saw earlier, who pushed me individually, but also set high standards for our teams. And put a high price on education, sometimes education in even stranger places. I always thought Mrs. Dunn with the English teacher and the one with a real mastery of the English language, that changed at a halftime at Batavia when Coach Dunn decided to enlighten us with some particularly fun and colorful language, so thank you for that, Coach Dunn. But they truly instilled a sense of dedication and achievement and set a high bar, both leading us to success and, as Coach Dunn mentioned, a really fortunate time to be here on the field, but also instilling a number of invaluable values of teamwork, work ethic, perseverance, and really what it takes to be a winner that I still benefit from to this day. Thanks to Country Day as well. Coach Dunn talked about that move back to Dallas, but I think at the time the school may have been thankful because I was a little bit of a knucklehead my 8th grade year. So I really thank the school for letting me back in, for helping my family to be in a position for me to attend this great school, and for creating an environment that prided itself on excellence, both in athletics and academics, with a firm belief that those two ideals can foster mutual success. There really was a culture of achievement that you saw reflected across all parts of Country Day, and you've heard a lot about that tonight from others. But the individuals like Dr. Hager, Mr. Tumalo, Mr. Kronk, Mrs. Dunn, just to name a few, were all incredible influences in my life. And the collective education in the classroom, on the athletic fields and beyond at Country Day provided a foundation for me that certainly opened doors that wouldn't have been possible without it. And finally, a big thank you to my siblings, my brother Todd, who couldn't be here tonight. He is a 23-year Marine and currently in the Middle East. And my sister Lee, who is taking care of two really rambunctious nephews of mine in New York City. Thank you to my parents, my dad, Pat, who's here tonight, and my mom, who is upstairs looking down at us, for installing in me really a love of sports that continues and has lasted a lifetime, and for focusing on education that allowed me to be in a position to succeed here at CCDS and beyond. So in short, to me, it's said that you're a product of where you're from and the experiences you have had. I feel incredibly fortunate and proud to have been at Country Day and to have that be a large part of who I am today and who I'll always be. So very hearty and sincere thank you to all of you and Go Indians tonight. So thank you very much.
Now we'd like to welcome up our next presenter, Andrew Ball.
Hello, my name is Andrew Ball, class of 2000. The person I'm here to introduce epitomizes the CCD student athlete. Someone who performs at a high level athletically, excels academically, and is a great teammate and leader with the occasional disciplinary misunderstanding. The list of athletic achievements is long and distinguished. He played 3 sports, and in 12 seasons he received 8 varsity letters, was named All-Conference 4 times, All-City 3 times, was a member of 3 conference championship teams, and his senior football season was recognized first team All-District on offense and defense, and second team All-State on defense. For CCD team awards, he was awarded the Ironman twice, the Coach's Award in baseball twice, and was the first recipient of the Will Perry Award. Academically, he was a finalist for the That's My Boy Award, which recognizes football players that achieve excellence in the classroom in addition to the playing field. In terms of leadership, his commitment to self-improvement and enthusiasm for voluntary workouts left a lasting impression that inspired not only his contemporaries, but the classes that came after. The respect that he earned from his teammates and coaches was evidenced by his election as team captain for football and baseball, and his receipt of the James Wright Sportsmanship Award his senior year. He continued this performance at W&L, where as a member of the football team, he was a 4-year letter winner, was selected all-conference and all-state 3 times, second team All-South region his senior year, and defensive MVP twice by his teammates. His senior year, he was voted team captain and received the Falcon Award, which goes to the most outstanding teammate. He was a member of the ODK and Phi Beta Kappa Honor Societies and was named Scholar Athlete of the Year his senior year. While this list of athletic and academic accomplishments is impressive, his enduring commitment to CCD is perhaps most admirable. Through contributions to upgrade the practice fields and equipment, as well as the passion he brings to his role as defensive coordinator for the football team, he is fully committed to inspiring the CCD's next generation to reach their full potential. It is an honor to introduce our next Hall of Fame entrant, my teammate and my brother, Jeff Ball.
Wow, that's pretty impressive, Andrew. You know, the past few months have been incredibly humbling because it's really opened my eyes to how many great people have been awesome teammates to me throughout my life. And as I kept on thinking about what I was going to say, one quote kept on coming back to me. It was, "You are the average of your 5 best friends." Now, taken literally, it means your 5 best friends are the ones that have the biggest impact on your motivation, your skills, your accomplishments, and your mistakes. I've made my fair share of all of those. But well, literally not my 5 best friends. I break my biggest influencers down to 3 categories: my family, my teammates, and my coaches. My family. The Ball family, or the Ball team, is a very tight unit, and it has always been that way. A constant through our family are the traits of hard work, resilience, and most importantly, persistence. And in other words, grit. The installation of purposeful practice begins early in the ball house. My father would come home from work every day, and we would throw the baseball. Again, with the competition in mind. After a warm-up, we would do the pop-up game. Now, the pop-up game sounds pretty simple. All you gotta do is catch 10 pop-ups in a row and throw it back hard. To my father, no short hops, no lobs, has to be a good throw. Now, but he would make them more and more difficult as you progress. And by the end, you're heading over your knees and kind of jogging back to the middle before you threw it back to him. So we did this game starting when we were about 6 and went through early high school when the ball was throwing back a little too hot, and we decided that was the end of the pop-up game. When I was in 2nd grade, I was playing third base, and a pop-up came to the short left field third base hole, which required me to move both backwards and laterally to make the play. Well, not routine for a 7-year-old, it was automatic for me as I settled underneath it. All of the parents were hooting and hollering, and at 7 years old, I couldn't understand why it was such a big deal because it seemed so routine to me. When I got in the car after the game, my father nodded at me knowingly with a look of understated pride. We both learned a lesson that day. I point to that moment where the concept of purposeful practice became part of my routine. I had earned the right to catch that ball. To this day, I love practice and I love the process. My wife Jen and I both work very hard instilling those same qualities in our kids, 2 of which are here today, Carson and Taylor. I'm blessed to have such a great partner who has such tremendous values. Jen, I love you. My teammates. I've been incredibly lucky to be surrounded by winners and friends that are on the right path. I'm so glad to be surrounded by many of you today who I would call huge influences on my life, both past, present, and in the future. Well, the wins are great. My favorite times were those dedicated moments with my teammates. A great example is the 15 or 20 of us that would go annually to the Bishop Adolahan Passett Clinic in Franklin, Indiana for 3 days of football immersion amongst the best in the region. Those 3 days, grinding in the heat and all working together without cliques to become better were some of my favorite times in my life. When I think of my high school experience, I think of those moments. With my teammates, on the practice field, grinding, and knowing we were laying the foundation for those championships in the future. One constant in my life featured through both my family and my teammates is my brother Andrew. Andrew, you've been a huge motivator for me. And there's no circumstances, my best performances at CCD and later at Washington and Lee were with you at my side. You're a great friend and a great teammate. Keep pushing me in your own way. I love you, bro. And then finally, my coaches. I know this now, but many times the impact of a coach is not appreciated until later. The player may lack the maturity or the life experience to really appreciate the constructive criticism methods of a coach. Similar to my family and friends, I've been blessed to have remarkable consistency and talent with my coaches. I really look up to my coaches, and I still stay in really good touch with them now, at high school through college. And looking back on it, all of my coaches are Hall of Fame quality leaders in their field. Tim Dunn, Steve Connor, Park Gilmore, and Kim Cohen in football and baseball, Howard Brownstein and Todd Montgomery in basketball, and then Frank Muriello, Clay Killingsworth, and Gavin Colleton for football at Washington and Lee. Each one of those coaches pushed me to be better and also allowed me the freedom, that vision on the field to make plays. I'll conclude with one story tonight, which I think epitomizes my CCD experience and the life lessons it taught. Homecoming in 1997 versus Summit for the MVC Championship. Similar to Rob Zimmerman's story earlier, we were down at halftime. We were down 13-0 at half versus a very talented Summit team that had beaten us in the prior year. After halftime, we came out and made a huge stop. We forced a punt. The Summit punter boomed it over John Smith's head, and it bounced and bounced and bounced and rolled into the end zone for a touchback, or so we thought. The ball came to rest effectively on the 1 millimeter line. A stray blade of painted grass by our esteemed Country Day maintenance department would have surely created a touchback. If Nate Lawton was on the maintenance staff during the season, we would have had a touchback. It was pretty dire circumstances. Summit and their fans and their coaches were hooting and hollering. We got in a huddle, and I remember this moment vividly. There was an air of confidence and purpose as Chris Zimmerman called the first play from our own end zone.
I-wing right 42 blast, I-wing right 42 blast. On one-on-one. Ready, break! Right behind me. Coach Dunn was putting this drive on my shoulders to get out of the end zone. We flipped the line each play that drive so that Greg Chang, Mike Grabner, and myself were leading the blocking. We did not have a play longer than 10 yards in the entire drive. The 100-yard drive took 25 plays, 7 first downs, including 3 fourth down conversions, 1 from our own 20 on a V out. That was a gutsy call. On the 25th play, we hit pay dirt on another 42 blast. We chewed up north of 12 minutes on that drive to cut it to a 1-score game and proceeded to miss the extra point. Again, we did not panic. Since we had chewed up so much clock, there was only about 6 minutes left in the game at this point. Summit could run out the clock with a few first downs. We forced a terrible punt and got the ball back on the 50 with about 4 minutes left. We knew this was our last drive. At this point, the atmosphere was absolutely electric. The student body was about 3 deep on the sidelines, and Kathy Ball was earning her right as the most vocal and engaged fan. For those who have not watched a sporting event with my mom, if there was a Hall of Fame for making a game as stressful as possible, sit next to my mom. Back to the game. We drove down and scored with less than a minute left in the game, 13-12. The extra point would tie it, and obviously it was not a guarantee. I made eye contact with sophomore kicker Brian McPhee as he came onto the field and gave him a nod of confidence. He nodded back. I remember looking back and watching the kick go through. Wasn't perfect, but it was through. And overtime. Momentum was in our favor. We shut them down in the overtime period. We forced a field goal attempt, and I was able to jump the guard center gap to block the kick. Now it was our turn. We ran the ball down their throats. And on a 2nd and 1 from the 1-yard line, we scored the game-winning touchdown on another 42 blast. 19-13, game over, MVC champs. Now the lesson. The next day we were sitting down to watch film, feeling pretty darn good about ourselves, and Coach Dunn came in the room. I don't know why, but we were expecting some kumbaya speech about the win, how great we were. But Coach Dunn, facing the team, pauses, and in his own unique style says, "You know, that win last night is what makes you all great Americans, but it was not great football." Let's get back to work. In conclusion, my defining experience at Country Day were on the field of play, and I believe strongly in the value of athletics for the development of young men and young women. Competitive athletics teach one how to handle the multitude of little victories and disappointments that life throws at you. The victories are fleeting, but also so are the disappointments. The one thing you can control is how you respond to both. In closing, I'd like to thank my big centers of influence, the ball team, my teammates, and my coaches. Gator, go Indians. Thank you.
Unfortunately, Sydney Stair-Wayton was not able to join us this evening. She was held up in Colorado. We will be bringing her out in the spring for an all-school assembly so that she can be presented with her plaque and the students can hear her story of her Country Day athletic life. But we shouldn't leave here without saying a few words about her. Sydney was a 3-sport athlete at Country Day. She played soccer, gymnastics, and track. While here, she set 4 school records, was a state qualifier, including a runner-up on a relay team, and was a captain of all 3 teams and a Heineken Award winner. Even though she's not here, I believe she deserves a round of applause.